Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 190 at scavengerlife.com. And we're talking about what's happening in our store this week.
The continued adventures.
Yes.
So this week I thought I wanted to, a feeling that I've had this week, as I'm sure other people can sympathize with, is that I've been feeling eBay lazy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Why? Because we didn't do any eBay this week?
Yeah, I mean, when it was a very busy week for us, so it's not like we didn't do anything.
Right.
But when I look back, it's Sunday now, and I look back at the week, and I look back at our numbers. I mean, you're different because you're always packing, so you actually are never a lazy person.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was very lazy with eBay. Because, life happened,
Yeah, lots of things were happening.
Every single day, something would pop up that we would have to take care of, which would, take away from getting into the routine of sitting down to take pictures or to a list. And then by the time the day frees up, it's kind of like late in the afternoon. And I don't know, for me at least, it's hard to it's motivated.
It's like you're exhausted from doing all the other things that you're like, for me, like you said, I'm like packing and shipping and getting that stuff ready. So that's something that I can do. But as far as like photographing and listing, you photograph some stuff, but just like you said, getting into that flow of like 20 things in a row, like several things in a row. Yeah, it's very disruptive.
I think that's what it is for me, at least, is like it needs to be the core of my day doing eBay,
right.
Like wake up, drink coffee, eat some breakfast, and then like I need to start focusing on eBay right away, because if I start focusing on anything else for even an hour or something, it kind of kills the day.
Right.
For me.
It's hard to get back into it.
Which is why I'm always amazed at people who work like full-time jobs or have, young kids, and, they're focusing like that's their main thing. And then they talk about, then at nighttime at 10 p.m. I like snuck in and I listed 20 things. I'm like,
how?
Man,
How did you do that?
Those people are incredible.
Yep, totally.
I mean, it's what I'm talking about. Did you ever feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, this week I felt like that. Like I said, I always kind of have stuff to do because I am packing and shipping, and there were a couple things that were quite large things that needed to get packed. So that was like a huge part of my job. But yeah, I mean, if I don't sit down and list, if something else takes my attention and I don't have like several hours to just list, forget it. Yeah. That's not happening during that day.
Because, I think I took pictures of maybe half a folder, so maybe 10 things, and I think you listed about that much, too.
Did I list anything? This week seems like a total blur.
We tried to have a brave start to the week, and then suddenly just everything.
You're going to have to remind me what we did this week, because my mind is like blank at the moment.
So it's not to bore people too much, but, this is the kind of things that a life will throw at you.
It's like, how did a week get away from us,
So I had a colonoscopy on Tuesday.
Yes.
So all of Monday for me was I had to fast, so I couldn't eat anything, which I like to eat, So,
I mean, doesn't everybody?
And then by 3 p.m. that day, I just start drinking a gallon of like a liquid that makes you purge.
Yeah.
So it basically like flushes out your system. So I was taking pictures earlier in the day, and then just by the time that happened, I'm just like,
You can't do anything.
I'm just close to the toilet.
Yeah,
and just like
I know. As people who have had one understand.
And I'm still relatively young, and they say to start getting colonoscopies at 50. But I have colon cancer in my family, so
you thought
I was
might as well mention
let's go ahead and do it. And I don't think I understood how. I thought it was going to be a simpler kind of its process.
It's like a 24-hour, 36-hour thing,
right? And then the next day, I go to the hospital,
right?
And you drop me off because it's like a 4-hour process with all the awaiting and all that, and they like put you in a gown and they suit you up like you're having an operation.
Yeah.
And they wheel you into basically like an operating room.
Right.
And they put an IV in at your arm. And and they knocked me out.
You weren't entirely asleep, but you don't remember anything, right?
Yeah, I think I was asleep. I closed my eyes and I didn't wake up till I was in the room where they
the recovery
wake you back
room.
up. Yeah. So, it was a great process. Great. Like, there's no pain. It wasn't
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but then I was real groggy and out of it for
Yeah.
the rest of the day.
The rest of the day,
I
yeah.
mean, although the first thing that you did was eat a pizza. So.
You must have been starving, so we went across the street and got a pizza, which is great. But
So I don't want. Sorry, I really do not want this to be one of those podcasts where it's just like chit chat about our daily life. But
Yeah.
I mean, my point is like, so those 2 days were done, and then we had contractors
Yeah.
that we've hired to help us do some stuff like.
it was landscaping mostly, right?
Yeah, so on that rental property there's like a part of the yard, or we have 2 acres
Yeah.
that was overgrown with bramble and.
Just little trees that had grown up from weeds.
And we thought it would be cool to clear that out, so we hired some guy
Yeah.
to do it. And the way we deal with contractors is we like to hire people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But we like to be a part of the process, not because we want to check on people, but
Well,
just
we want to make sure they understand what we want, because in the past we've had people do stuff where we just let them go, and then we come back and they're like, okay, pay us now. And
Right.
they did not do what we wanted at all.
And,
so.
we like to kind of change things up. Like, we
Yeah.
have a first idea, and then as things are happening, we're like, wait a second, I'm seeing things differently. Let's do it like this.
Yeah.
Plus, we like to do a lot of the manual labor, too.
Yeah, like we
can.
help clean up, because that
Yeah.
helps it make it cheaper.
Helps save time.
We have a truck. So another thing we had that we were gonna do during the week was get the dryer installed, because we are stacking it on the washer. So we had to do that, and we had to vent it out the wall. So we expected someone to come do that, but then he couldn't. So then he came on a different day. So that like threw our day out of whack.
Right,
you
because
know?
we wake up early when the guy says he's going to come.
We're like,
and
we
we're
blocked
waiting.
off that half of that
Right.
day, to do it.
So anyway, my point is,
Yeah.
it's just one of those weeks where one thing leads to another, and by the time it's time for us to have some free time to do eBay, like we just
We're
weren't-
exhausted.
we
Oh my
weren't really
God.
feeling
like
it, you know?
yesterday, I was
Yep.
like, I'm dead.
But the good thing for us is, again, this is another example of, is we'll do its numbers right now. I mean, the reason why we have a large inventory. So even though I took pictures of 10 things, and Ryan listed 10 things,
Probably about
basically.
that.
So we didn't really do anything on eBay.
Almost nothing.
We still sold about $2,000 worth of items.
Right. So you broke the numbers down well. So it was 1,600 on eBay, but then we sold something on Craigslist for $250, which counts as this week. And then I sold something on Bonanza for $40.
I think we sold 2 things.
Oh, it
on
was Bonanza for 40,
Yeah.
and then I sold something on Amazon for 35.
Right.
It was a robe hook, a fancy robe hook.
Right. So, we were able to, still have a good week,
Yeah.
even though we didn't really sell a lot. Now, so let's just talk specifically about eBay. So we actually had a slow week.
On eBay.
I heard people
Yeah.
talk in the comments about that too. It was saying,
Man, it was
it's
molasses.
for us. But I mean, again, I think we also fall into this trap of, I think that what is normal for eBay is like the holiday times, when
Yeah.
we're making like $3,000 a week and we're
Right, it's
selling like,
crazy.
80 items.
Yeah.
Like, that's not normal.
It's not normal.
I
You can't base it on that.
I can't peg that to be the normal.
Yeah.
I mean, this is basically what it is like
Yeah.
during the springtime
In summer.
and
Yeah.
summer, and so we're pretty happy with
Yeah.
that.
I mean, if we can this week we made about $2,000. That's pretty good. If we can make that every week, I mean, we're doing pretty well. Plus, a lot of our attention clearly is going to our rental house. That's something we forgot to mention,
Right.
was we had renters this week too. So that was,
Right, and that's something else that we're having to learn to deal with too. Is that now that it's running like 2 simultaneous businesses, when someone checks out and someone else is checking in, like we're about to do now,
Yeah.
we have to go over there, and it takes about 3 hours
To
like
clean
the house, and you have to wait for the person.
There's a
and
level
check
of
them in.
mental energy too that I'm finding that's like pretty intense. Like, I woke up this morning super early because I had to gather up all our linens and our supplies and stuff. And there's just that like, it's not nervousness, but there's like an intensity of like, we got to go do this. We have a certain time. We have to look nice to meet these people, and like,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
like
we
the
don't-
whole thing.
I mean, we don't have to do any of these things, but we're making we want to.
we
look
want
nice.
to do. We want to.
Like,
do
I mean,
that.
honestly, because we have electronic it locks on our doors, we could actually just text them and say, "This
Right.
is the
code.
The code.
Come whenever you want."
There's a booklet on the table that explains everything. Good luck. And but I don't know. I think for us, at least right now, I would rather meet people in person.
Yeah.
Present ourselves nicely.
Yeah.
Give people a tour. I just feel like that's.
I think it's important for people to know. Just to know us and know like how much work we put into the house, because the minute they walk in, they see that. So
let's keep talking about eBay.
So the numbers, yes.
So eBay,
Yep.
That's a nice thing, is that we have this little pipeline and just cranking out sales, even though we aren't really
We're distracted.
doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we sold 28 items on eBay, and so 9 of those, so about a third, were under $30.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting number for me because, again, we don't really are we listing a lot of things under $30?
No, but I mean there are some things that are $25. I mean it's just not worth more than that. Whatever it may be.
Right.
Sometimes we just have that stuff from box lots. It just happens, you know, or mugs.
Yep.
You can't go higher than 25 on a basic mug, really.
I just think that's interesting because we've had these conversations on the blog. It's with other people about wanting to have higher priced items and only buying things that are worth $50 or more.
Yeah.
And you know what? We try and do that, and I guess it just surprises me that it's just hard. I guess we just end up without even knowing it, just buying things that are a lower price just because either we didn't know that, or just like
you see it, you have to get it.
I can't pass up this mug. It's too cool.
It's a psychological thing. You're just like, I know someone wants this. I have to be the person who brings it to the market.
I guess even though it's only worth $20, it's such a cool item. I want to make sure someone gets it.
And on slow weeks, those low items pad out your inventory.
Yeah.
I mean. Okay, so the highest price thing we sold this week was a commercial panini grill for almost $500. It was $450.
Right. And real quick, just for the edge record, because I don't mind saying it, this sale is all you. I mean... Okay,
wow, I'm glad to take that. Well, okay, so the thing about this panini grill, right? We saw it at the thrift store. It was a thrift store, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is not like a George...
no, it's a professional...
It's four-man little grill. It's like a double wide, really heavy, made of steel and glass.
Yeah, it's glass ceramic, like you would have on a cooktop, on a stove, like a fancy stove. The thing about it was, I think we talked about this, it was absolutely filthy. I mean, baked on grease. And I had to use that Easy Off stuff, which I don't like to use, but I sprayed it on there like 5 times and just scraped it and cleaned it.
I think you cleaned it the day that I'd gotten home from the hospital, so it's groggy.
Yeah. It took me a week to clean it, because I would spray the Easy Off on, I would scrape it off, and then I would spray it on again, because the grease was like layers.
But I think you did the final one,
yeah.
while I just remember I sat there, I was just like watching you. And I think you're out on our back deck.
Yeah, because it was sunny that day.
A couple hours.
Yeah, a couple hours. And what's funny is I took photos and I listed it. I think I listed it that night. It was Tuesday. It sold Wednesday morning. Clearly, it's something people want. The only issue with it was there was some grease that was so baked on I could not get it off, not even with a razor blade. Right. But the guy still bought it. I did $5.99 best offer.
Right. So
I
mean, people. So and we were talking on the blog about auctions. I mean, this is an example of. If this was brand new brand new out of the box, it'd be worth about
$1,600. If you look them up, double panini grill.
So its question is, why not just put it on auction? Well, because number one, it had a lot of wear on it.
It did, and he said that he's like, I'm concerned about the wear, so $450.
And I don't know, and so why not just start the auction at for a $50? That's what we're willing to take, hoping. I just think for us, just because normally auctions are just such a waste of time, and we don't have good experience with auctions.
With prices.
So we were happy to do it our way, and that's like ask for what we want.
Right. Higher than what I want even.
But knowing we would take
$450.
Less than that.
Hell yeah.
And we were happy to take
the only thing that was a bummer was packing that thing. It weighed 35 pounds by itself. It's got glass interior. I mean, I bubble wrapped that part, but it just makes you nervous. Like,
Yeah.
I sent it FedEx ground, which is good. It was only like $30 FedEx ground, but still, you're like, I double boxed it, padded it, had a huge box to put it in. And I'm like, please, God, let it get to him, in all in one piece.
The only compliment I'll give is myself.
You saw it.
Is we were at a thrift store, and I saw all that stuff, and
we didn't know what it was.
This is why we're good partners.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you think about buying this? Because,
Right.
because it looks sturdy, it looks important.
Yeah.
And no one else is
and
is
it looks absolutely
at it.
filthy and disgusting. So you're like, people are overlooking this because they're like, what the hell is that?
I mean, even the people that ran the thrift store, they had it kind of piled up in the corner. They didn't really think it was.
And, we bought both these pieces. We bought a panini grill, and it's like a crepe maker. It's a cast iron, like, crepe pancake maker. They were $35 each. So hopefully we'll sell the second one soon.
We sold a sink, which was another, so our week was really saved by these big dollar items. So we sold another one of our sinks for $249 on eBay.
It was free shipping, though.
And those of you that have heard us for a while, we talked about this. It's been a year and a half now.
So, yeah.
We bought 15 Kohler sinks
for $15
from
each.
like an outlet that were just trying to dump these things. And we bought them for $15 each. And so we've slowly been selling these things, and we have only 2 more left.
Yeah.
But it's one of those great deals where if you can buy a bunch of stuff up front, we paid whatever 15 times.
Yeah. So whatever
it was like $300 or something.
Were.
But then we've been making a couple $100 each
on
sink.
each sink, mostly. So the only problem with those, again, is shipping them. The shipping's not a problem. I've done FedEx ground. For the last one, I did FedEx ground, which is great. But it's a porcelain sink.
But the great thing is they're still in their boxes.
They're in the original boxes, so they have some padding, and they have this cardboard thing that keeps them from hitting the bottom. But I pad it out even more, but... It's just like, cross your fingers.
And then, again, another experiment that has been paying off for us is furniture. I think it's been almost a year now. We started doing it last spring. We started buying furniture that we would see at auctions or thrift stores because, a lot of people don't like to buy furniture.
Yeah, where are they going to put it? What are they going to do with it?
So we buy furniture for, under $50, and then we sell it. We try and sell it on eBay on a local pickup, but we've been finding Craigslist has been a nice place
a supplement.
To sell this stuff. So we sold these two
side tables there for a bedroom or living room. Yeah, those were $250 on Craigslist to some guy that drove from DC out here. So that was cool.
but they were a nice brand.
They're beautiful. They were Lane. If you look up Lane, Lane, Acclaim table, you'll find it. You'll find similar designs. They have this like dovetail design, just gorgeous. We bought them for $25 at a yard sale.
And that was for
both of them.
Yeah, so
she's like, I don't know,
25.
We're like, okay.
But it's great. Like, it's an example of a yard sale where, everything's $1. So a high price item is $25.
It's $25, yeah, exactly.
And where she's like, wow, someone's actually going to pay $25. We're like, yep.
Exactly. So that's a fun sale.
Yeah. And then it's mentioned we sold a pair of shoes for $75.
Yep,
and
that was good.
I only bring it up because we really built our business on
shoes.
Clothes and shoes. Shoes are a really big one because shoes are relatively easy to find and cheap.
And they sell on eBay.
But we do not sell very many shoes these days. Even though we still have a lot of them up. Yeah. I don't know, we haven't listed any in a long time, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but
yeah, I know we still have a bunch that need
but
to
shoes
sell.
are such a great, we probably bought these for under $5 and they sell for $25.
Yeah, they were new. They were Sebago new moccasin, like, what are they, like little ankle boots.
I think you had them up for like $200.
No, I don't think they were $200. I think they were like $120 or something, because they're new and they're like, the style right now.
No, Yeah, and then we did sell another pair of shoes for it's $50, and those are up for $150. And it was one of those days where we hadn't sold anything, and someone gave it this offer. They're up for it's $50. They offered
50. I'm like,
and
sure.
Ryan took it without.
Well, she hasn't paid yet, so I'm
really?
about to do an unpaid item case this evening.
But
if she hasn't paid.
Another example of how best offer is kind of nice, where if you wanted, things are slow and you just need.
You're like
that.
$50, great! I bought these for $2.
I just need that little injection.
Yeah. So this past week, I was on the phone with eBay, and I got 3 defects removed. Now that sounds like magic, but they were unwarranted defects that shouldn't have even been there in the first place. Like, one of them was told to me that would be removed like 2 weeks ago for something that someone said item not described, but I described it exactly what it was. They said they'd remove it. So I was checking up on that one. One of them was for a global shipping program. Someone said something was damaged and eBay gave them their money back. Not out of my money, and yet I had a defect for that, which was lame. The third one was someone had given me the wrong address and it said item not received, and I reprinted a label, blah, blah, blah. I gave him the right address and it got to him fine, and he left positive feedback. And I had a defect for that. So I was like, those need to be removed. And they removed them.
So how do you handle that? So if you go to eBay,
yes,
and if you open up that spreadsheet they give you.
Right, it doesn't describe any of the items.
And it's just like an item, number. So if you
I'll tell you what I do.
Go.
If you just stop talking. Okay. So they give you the list of items and what the defect is. So I go through the item number and I put it into my email because I keep all my emails, and I see what the item is. And I'm like, oh, that's either justified, yes, item not as described, or no, I can fight that. And so when I call, I immediately say, I have some defects that I would like to get removed. So they either transfer me to the person who can do that, or they can do it. Oh, that's a great sound. And so what was great is the guy that I got on the phone, I said, there's 3 defects that basically I said I was told would get removed last week, and they haven't. One of them was, they told me, whatever. They don't keep records of stuff like that. So I was like, whatever. And he's like, okay, give me the item numbers of all 3. So I give him the item numbers. As everyone knows, the item numbers are super long. So you're sitting there on the phone, just rattling
8,
off.
5,
yeah,
6,
no,
3,
seriously.
2.
5, 3, 7. It's just whatever. So he gets all of them, and he's like, yep, you're right. All of those should be removed. And they'll be removed within 48 hours.
Wow.
And within 48 hours, they were gone.
Yep.
But sometimes they'll tell you that. This is what drives me nuts. One of those, like I said, should have been removed a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And I had to call again. You're like, come on.
Yeah. And I always think it's weird that eBay, because I feel like a lot of companies do this, that they have a history of their conversations.
Yeah, why is there no
That's
history?
strange that each customer rep doesn't have to put some notes down on what they talked about, because and I feel like that would be in their benefit too. So if we're really rude, they can say buyer was very rude,
you're outraged, or if they this is what goes to our advantage is if a rep says no, that can't get removed, and then you call back 5 times and you finally get a rep that will remove it, what good did that do? I
wonder if anyone from eBay ever hears our podcast, if they're going to hear us say this, but I feel like we always tell people to call back again. And so people in the comments say, I called, I didn't get the answer I
called again?
I called 2 more times and finally got the person. I mean, it's good for all of us, but it feels like that's very inefficient. It's
inefficient for us and them.
Yeah.
I mean, spending all this time, on the phone.
The other thing is, we did a little bit of shopping, but a fun buy we did was we just stopped by kind of a new thrift store that we saw, because these things kind of pop up where some little independent guy decides he wants to, maybe he goes to auctions and he's like, I'll just get a storefront and sell this stuff. So I love those guys. Yeah. Because
they pop up a lot too and go away pretty fast.
Because normally these guys, it's a great idea, but the thing is they aren't good at presentation. Yeah. So they have just a bunch of junk. and no one wants to
Yep.
buy a bunch of junk for the prices they want.
Right.
So-
Like they have $50 on a Rowenta iron.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I get it. A Rowenta iron is definitely worth $50. Not in your store.
Yeah.
On eBay, yeah.
Right. So, it's like where they're good at scavenging, and they see that it sells a lot on places like eBay or Amazon, but they don't want to do the work to get that price, and they hope that, I don't know, some rich person's going to wander into a junky thrift store to spend a lot of money. So, it's not a good business model. It's great for us because we go in there, and it's like when we have a slow day, you can tell when they're hungry,
Right.
And so there were these 3 vintage
Oak chairs.
antique oak chairs.
They're office chairs. There used to be office chairs back in like the 30s or 40s.
Right.
And essentially, they're just this really basic kind of mission style look. I mean, you can look it up. I'm sure if you Googled that, you'd find it. But the funny thing is, we found one in an office building a long time ago that was being demolished that we were helping like take out materials. And we were like, they were like, take anything. So we were like, this is a nice chair. Either we can use this at our house or sell it or whatever. So we cleaned it up. And I actually looked it up the other day when we bought these other chairs. And I'm like, how much did that sell for? I'm thinking in my head, $150. This guy bought it and picked it up on local pickup. He paid $300 for this one chair, not a pair, one chair.
But, these are nice. But again, if you were to buy this at a Restoration Hardware, it would be $300.
It would be $300 plus for one chair.
So anyway, I saw these chairs, and I just asked the guy, how much do you want? And he said $5 each.
And there were 3 of them.
Which is incredible, because I guess for him, he's just like, it takes
just
up too much room.
Get it out. I don't want to put them back in the store because they were outside. And I didn't believe it. I was like, what? So you bought one. One was a swivel chair. The other were just stationary. And we only had our little hatchback. And you bought one, and I came out and I was like, was that only $5? Because the total was like $7 because we bought a couple books too. And I'm like, we should get the other ones. I mean, I know we have the hatchback, but somehow we'll make them fit. We actually were able to fit them in the car.
I'm like, if it's a good deal, I'll make it fit.
Well, and we could have gotten the truck and come back, but it's just funny how $15 and we're like, we could potentially sell those for $300 each.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like to say that because we do take offers, but come on.
Yeah, I kind of feel we got lucky on that one $300, but even if we got $100 each, you're still making money. So
it's crazy.
Actually, on our front porch is where we store a lot of furniture.
Everything.
It's starting to fill back up after having sold a bunch, and so we're going to do a day, a weekend where we'll like clean them off and oil them up and do any kind of sanding.
Fix the little nubs that are in the screws.
We don't like to buy stuff where we have to do a total redo on the piece of furniture, but we're willing to buy furniture that has some wear on it that will take, an hour or something.
If you can get it cheap. If you can get it cheap enough. I mean, those chairs aren't banged up, but they are dirty, and the arms were loose and some of the slats were loose. Yeah. So we had our carpenter friend kind of help us. He was here helping us with the dryer. We were like, help us with these chairs real quick. So that's good. And those are just, and on the back, this is what is the coolest part about it. There's a little seal with a serial number that says property of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Right. So it was probably a government chair.
It was like a government office or something. Right. And it's just stuff like that just makes it like, that's just incredible. It looks so cool.
And just real quick about its furniture. I know you've been kind of obsessed with those blogs it's mainly ladies who are into refinishing
their house, DIY. Okay, there's this whole thing. I just want to mention this. It's especially on Pinterest because they do their blog posts just for Pinterest, basically. There's this like huge flock of women, and they're my age. They're between late 20s, early 40s. A lot of them just had kids. They just bought their first house, kind of like us. I mean, definitely our age. And there are these bloggers where they have these gorgeous blogs and all these like DIY projects, and they like take very detailed photos and have very detailed steps about like refinishing stuff and painting, whatever, And I get obsessed with those because I'm like, yes, like if you can do it yourself for cheap,
Right.
it saves you so much money, you know. If they're like, I redid my kitchen because I painted all my cabinets and I did it and it's still holding up 2 years later, and you're like, yes, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just where they'll take like those ugly oak cabinets,
like the 80s oak cabinets in the kitchen.
That were so common, that are so ugly. It's like it's nice wood, but then they like paint. They somehow like sand them and then paint them in
or stain them
colors.
dark.
Yeah.
That's like a whole thing. Like there's like a name for it. They're like, it's the Java Gel.
So sometimes I think you want to do stuff like that, but I don't think it's worth redoing furniture that hardcore to sell.
I think right, because you want to let someone do that. I think what you want to do is, well, with wood like this is kind of like a honey oak, and it's just gorgeous. It's not like cheap, red oak or whatever. I think what you can do is you can clean it up so people can see the potential of like what they could do with it. And that's all you want to do, really.
And just, it's real good. It's not that it's cheap red oak. It's just like, it's got a look. Red oak. It's just a look that doesn't look good these days.
As I'm looking around our living room and it's all red oak.
Right.
But it looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a contractor, basic contractor cabinet that was installed in like every house in the 80s and 90s.
But, it's neat that there's people that do stuff like that.
Yeah, I love it. I get obsessed with those blogs. I think because they can make something look very contemporary, but use the materials that are already there. So they're like upcycling it instead of like, I'm going to spend, $15,000 on a new kitchen. They're like, I'm just going to paint these cabinets and put new hardware on it. And it's going to look like a $15,000.
Yeah. And it's very empowering. Although, again,
it's a lot of work, though.
We always are like, where it starts getting a little bit too commercial, where basically they just have like ads all over the place and like, buy all this stuff.
It is a lot of that. So it gets a little bit tiring. Like there's so many pop-up ads like on the photos and stuff. You're like, oh, people, you're hurting me. Okay,
so people don't seem to mind us talking about our rental property. We talked about it some, and it's I mean, I hope it's interesting just in the sense of like, we are full-time eBay. We sell on eBay full-time. That's where we make a living. But because we've been able to make its money on eBay, we bought this other property that we now rent out as a vacation a rental, mainly using Airbnb, although we have done a little bit on VRBO.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really whoever wants to rent is fine, but Airbnb seems to be the place where we attract the kind of people that
people are definitely hanging out on Airbnb, checking places out. That's what I do anyway.
So this is what I wanted to talk about with that. So we booked another week in the future. So this is for the
end of June, beginning of July.
Yeah, and it was $1,400.
Yeah, for it was like 8 nights or something like that.
And I just want to say, like, on eBay, like this week we sold something for $450. We sold something for $250. Like, those are exciting sales, and they don't happen all the time, but they happen, once,
a few times a month.
Yeah, so it's good. But man, having this is rental. It's like the feeling of selling the biggest item you can think of on eBay.
Right.
Because even if someone just rents for a weekend, it can be $400 or $500.
Yeah.
And then when people book for a whole week,
it's like
$1,400. Like, I mean, I don't think we've ever sold anything for $1,400.
Yeah, you're eBay, just like, wait. I mean, obviously, there's a lot that goes into it.
Sure. Yeah. But now that we've put in all the work, I mean, now we have this thing. Now we're taking advantage of it,
Yeah, exactly. Like when you get the payout from Airbnb, it's just like, wow, that is so great. We have that money. Like it's almost like it magically appeared, even though obviously we've done like years of work for it. But it's finally like, you actually can see the results.
Yeah, and so my obsession now as someone that likes to look at its numbers is like, now I'm always like, we have to book every single night.
Yeah.
And
how do we have control over that?
And like we've talked about, it's similar to eBay where, we don't have total control. I mean, we can't make anyone book our places. So we do our best by like good presentation. Someone on the blog we've been emailing with, she suggested, putting it on Craigslist. So
we've been putting it on Craigslist.
We do that. It's once a week where we'll posted on Craigslist in different areas on the East Coast,
Right.
with a link to our Airbnb.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's done anything, but
We don't
knows?
know, but some people from New York are coming today, so I don't know if they saw it on Craigslist or not.
And so for April, we have almost the entire month.
It's like 20 nights booked.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. It's the second month we've had it for available.
I mean, we're going to be making, well, right now it's definitely $3,000.
Yeah.
But if we book the end of the month, which hasn't been booked yet, I mean, we could be making up to $4,000, which is, in my best dreams, I was thinking, okay, we'll be making about $2,000 a month. So I don't know. Again, it's just like I can't count. It's money I don't have.
Right.
And it's like eBay where I can't say an item is going to be worth a certain amount until it actually sells.
Yeah.
But man, it would be really, I'd be over the moon if we can keep the place booked as much as we have.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know what this podcast feels like. We're a little more harried, and it's just because both of us right now are dressed it's nicely. Because as soon as this is done, we're going to go over to this property, and people are checking out.
Right.
And then we have to clean this place
like crazy.
Right. And then we're dressed nice
presentable.
because we want to look nice. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a level of intensity, like mental intensity, where you're just like, you want everything to be perfect, That's just like, we've made this house like this like great place, and you're like, everything must be perfect, not a spot of dust anywhere.
That's just who we are, I guess, But actually, again, I'm so bad with people's names, so forgive me. Someone on the blog suggested we buy this book on how to clean in a professional way. Speed cleaning. And actually it came.
Yes.
And it's on our dining room table. And so when both of us are eating, we'll
looking
flip through it.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, there's a way to clean that I had it's never thought about.
Right.
That, and it's more about, anyway.
There's a method to it. So we have to read it more. I think I need to read it this week.
But today I'm going to use some of these techniques.
Yes.
Because the way we do it is we each take a certain part of the house.
Right.
And just focus on that.
Yeah. So I'm upstairs, you're downstairs.
You got it.
So we'll see how fast we clean today.
Yeah.
So customer issues. Now, one issue was actually, part of it was my problem. So I sent this woman the wrong shoes because I had two pairs that looked almost exactly the same. So I sent her, I actually made a return label through PayPal Ship Now, and emailed her the PDF, and she printed it out, which actually was a cool technique. But whatever, I lost like $5, obviously, because I had her send them back. And then I mailed her the correct ones, and she said they didn't fit. So she sent them back through hassle-free returns.
And she was totally cool.
Yeah, she was fine.
It was not a problem. It's with its buyer. It's just one of those things where it's just like one of those sales. It just took a lot of time and energy. And
finally I get the new ones back, and then that day that I got them back, she was like, oh, these don't fit. I'm like, oh, God, great.
And then its next thing is we've been talking about how we've been selling these knives, and most times it's been fine, but this is the first time I think we've ever had an eBay buyer. It seems like he's abusing the hassle-free its return. So he starts a hassle-free its return. He says not as described, and we pay for everything. But the problem was he didn't say what was wrong with it or why he didn't think it was
described properly. So I messaged him because I was like, I'm just going to ask him. I'm like, it's no problem that you're returning it. I just want to know what wasn't described. Like, what do I need to add to the listing?
Right, because we don't want to put it up again if for some reason there's a problem with it.
So he never responded. So what I did was when I got the knife back, I actually called eBay and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with this knife. I'm staring at the knife. I'm staring at my listing. I have no idea.
And a buyer is not
responding to telling me.
He's not telling anybody.
Like, it's the wrong knife.
What's wrong
it's the wrong size.
So I think it was very clear that he was just trying to get
free shipping.
Yeah, for some reason.
So actually what eBay told me, and there's much controversy about what is correct, but they said, give him a refund for the price of the item through PayPal.
Right. So it's basically a partial
It's basically a partial refund. Yeah. So, and he was like, this hasn't been escalated to eBay, like, cases. It's just a hassle-free return. So if he doesn't escalate it after you give him the refund within, like, a week or something, you should be fine. And so that means I'm not paying for, all the shipping.
Right.
So that's what I did. And what I'm going to have to do in, like, a couple weeks is call and get the defect removed and be like, try at least.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
So anyway, I listed it again, and hopefully the next person. I looked at all the writing on the knife, and it's all correct. So I don't know.
And then this is I bet people enjoy this. So we buy stuff on eBay, and we've actually been buying. We aren't the worst buyers.
Okay,
we're just really
I'm
picky.
Picky.
So it's no cops got called. It's this week. This is just a. So we were trying to buy something, and it's one of those people that have make offer on it,
right? And
you're like, okay, that's cool.
Wonder how much they'll take off.
So we put in an offer, and they've got the auto
decline
decline on it, and you're only allowed like three times.
Yeah.
So we go 1 auto decline, 2 auto decline, and then the third one we took off $1, and it's a $40 item. Auto decline. So basically, he's gaming. I just don't like this when a buyer. I guess he's just sorry. Yeah, I guess he just puts it on because he wants to maybe
the search results
higher in the its ranking, even though it doesn't seem like he would take any money off.
It's so obnoxious to me. I really hate that where you're like. You're using a search function that people are looking like, hey, maybe someone will take a couple bucks off. Nope.
Yeah.
Won't do it. What's the point? You know what? I still bought from him because I was like, I need this item. He's got the lowest price. Why not just go on that merit?
Right.
Why put me through like decline?
Right.
It's just like, come on.
Yeah.
You suck.
But that's just an example of just where you're like, oh, this is so shady.
It's just annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, so some news. News.
So a nice commenter, Jill,
emailed us.
Yep, she emailed us and said that she couldn't subscribe to our blog by email. If you go to our subscribe page, you can just put your email in, and then you'll be emailed anytime a new post is put up.
And she was like, nothing happens. I put my email address and press submit, and it just sits there. So I tried the same thing with just another email address I have, and she was right. There was something wrong with the code. So I re-input the code on to that page, and it works now. So anyone who was trying to subscribe by email and thought they were and isn't getting updates, you should get, anytime we post within like 12 hours or something, you should get an email that says, that we posted something. Another thing I want to point out is I was looking on the email subscriptions page through the feed burner service that we use, and a lot of people haven't verified their email, which means FeedBurner is going to email you and be like, do you really want to subscribe to this blog? Just so someone doesn't do it for you. And you have to click a button to verify. If you don't do that, you're not going to get any of the updates. So if you haven't done that and you haven't been getting the updates, just try to resubscribe through email. It's actually great because then you don't have to like always be checking the blog. You'll just get an email if there's a new post.
So another commenter, Tina, actually, she told us about an idea for a new mug.
Yeah, and it was hilarious. So she said, it would be funny if it said, find it, list it, sell it, ship it. And I made that mug. Yep. So I did put that on the store, and I'll link to it on the blog post. That's a great one. I love it.
It's just like a perfect way to explain what all of us are doing. Like that's exactly like if you aren't doing
those things,
one of those 4 steps, then really
you're not doing. You're being eBay lazy like us.
So I'm going to put a link on the blog to its next one. I noticed this when I was researching. So we sold that panini grill. So I was like, I wonder if we were to start buying like
commercial kitchen stuff.
Yeah, like how could we sell it and ship it? And so I was just seeing what prices people were, asking for. And, there's a whole subculture of guys who have like these warehouses where I guess that they buy out auctions full of this stuff, and they sell it on eBay.
They buy out an entire restaurant.
And so I noticed this. A lot of them, it's one specific guy I saw. He had where, the price was like $1,200.
Right.
Or $100 for 12 months. So there was an installment plan that PayPal had that he was able to put on his thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. So I guess what happens is, there's a whole thing about it.
Yeah, we'll link to it.
I don't quite understand how we as a seller can put that on a listing, but the way it would work would be the person would buy the item, choose the installment plan, PayPal pays you outright for the whole thing, and then PayPal is the one that deals with the installment.
It's almost
plan.
like it's like a credit card. It's like PayPal giving them credit or a loan.
What's interesting is that I guess if you pay it off in the 12 months or however long they want you to pay it off, the fee is really, it was like $50.
It was like really
on
low.
$1,200.
Yeah.
But maybe what they're hoping for is you don't pay. And maybe
that's what any credit card is hoping for.
Yeah.
Because they want that fee.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so it's interesting. So I don't know if anyone knows about this, but I guess I was just thinking if we started to buy and sell, more higher priced items. Because we have some stuff up for $1,200 that, it's like furniture. I wonder if you could put like an installment plan.
Later.
Because, that might be...
That might encourage people like, hey, that's actually, it looks cheaper. Because when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's not bad, actually.
I don't want to start trying to put people into situations where they're like buying things that they don't need, because it's nice when it's either you have the money or not, but...
Yeah, but it's not really your responsibility.
Yeah.
People do that anyway because they pay for stuff on eBay with credit cards every single day.
True.
So there's nothing you can do about that. That's interesting.
And then another commenter, Mark, who I talked to a lot online, he sent a cool link. It's called storagebattles.com. And I'll put these links on the...
I got to look at that.
On the blog. But basically, it's like an auction site. And you can put in a zip code, and it shows you storage lockers being auctioned off in your area.
Yeah.
And, it's like Storage Wars, that TV show. You aren't allowed to go in it. You can just kind of stand out front.
Yeah.
And then people bid on what they can see from the doorway.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they just take a picture of what the doorway of the stuff is like, and then you bid on that. So you're just bidding on almost no information,
which is as we all know from the show, super fun in a way, because you're like, there could literally be gold in there. There could be really
I mean, I don't know. It's cool, and maybe it might be fun, and I can see it probably gets into people's gambling addiction. But it just seems like there's so many other ways to buy stuff in America for cheap that is going to actually sell than taking a gamble. But it's fun to scroll through. Isn't it? Okay, so things we learned in the comments on the blog this week. I think we're finally wrapping up this conversation, but it's about keywords. We talked about this as last week.
Keyword madness.
So Amazing Taste that has... a pretty incredible store where her and her husband sell a lot of clothes.
Yes.
She, started talking about these keywords, and I think like a lot of other people, I was like, I'd never seen this before.
Yeah.
It's like we looked at the keywords, and eBay had just defaulted like the lowest price item, and it was the same item in every single
category,
field, in every category, It didn't make sense. And so, she explained how to do it. We actually did a special post where we put a photo of how we were doing the keywords because people were getting confused. And, some people said they changed their keywords and all of a sudden they started selling a lot. I mean, we haven't had that experience. So, I don't know if that would be consistent for people. I'd love to hear. And then someone it's Nancy pointed us to, she linked to an eBay radio episode where Griff was recently asked about it.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
And he was like, I'd never seen this either. Like, he was actually going to and was like, I have no idea about this.
And what he did say in that segment was, along with their analytics, which we complain about because it's awful, He's like, this stuff is outdated. So I'm pretty sure this is just an outdated page.
Well, I like Griff. He's good about being honest when it needs to be, and he was just like, I don't know about this. I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
He didn't say he knew if this was outdated, but he said there are other parts of the site that just like are grandfathered in, or they're just still there. And it's always strange to me. I feel like as someone, like, I like to be organized. I would be like, if something isn't working on a site, just cut it out. Like, what's the point of having a part of the site that still looks like it works but spitting out bad info?
It's just
So if anyone hears Griff for eBay Radio talk about these keywords
please,
like if he does a follow-up, I'd love just to hear, like, is this something people care about?
Is it still active? Does it matter?
Yeah,
exactly.
I just think it's strange that, this is eBay's business, and with all those engineers that they have, that they haven't figured out a way to make it work better.
Yeah.
Like, they could choose better keywords than what, is there by default.
Right.
So, amazing taste. She also put another kind of cool idea up along with her idea of the keywords is...
Yes.
So, eBay has like it's coupons that you can turn on.
Right. Like digital coupons.
Yeah, where you can make a link where if someone clicks it, they go to your store, and it says something like, if you buy 2, you get 1 for free. Or if you spend $50, you get $20 off.
Or something.
So, and she says that works for her. She sells a lot of clothes, and I guess she says what it works for is when you go to like Pinterest. If you put these links on Pinterest and people feel like they're getting an exclusive offer.
Right.
So I linked to where she explained how to do that.
Okay.
So another commenter, I think it was another Steve, he had actually emailed this idea that if you have clothes that smell, or a coat or something smells smoky or has some weird, it's musty smell, he says if you put it in a freezer, so if you have like a big
like freezer, a chest freezer, maybe.
You put it in there overnight or for a couple days, supposedly the cold kills the bacteria, and it's the bacteria that causes the actual smell.
So I think next time we get something musty, I think we'll throw it in the freezer and then hang it out in the sun.
Yep.
And just see if that kills it.
Yeah. It seems like it's for us, like, we really don't buy anything that smells dirty.
It's more of it smells like it's been in the thrift store.
Right.
Or
I think the thing that we have trouble with is like a lot of people smoke. Things that come from a smoking household, and sometimes you find those really incredible coats. I mean, they're just like gorgeous, but they smell smoky, and that smoke seems like the hard thing. So I wonder if the freezer helps
the smoke smell,
because the smoke isn't really bacteria. So
we'll try it. I mean, the next time I'm definitely going to try that.
Another commenter
named
Zach, he actually posted a way where you can change your store name on eBay, but the problem is that your old store name will still pop up all over eBay. So he explains how to change your store name, but then to let eBay know that you have a new store name, and to take out all the old store names all over eBay.
So that's good. Yeah, because people have mentioned that before.
And so, that's important for, someone starts an eBay account and they don't think they're ever going to sell, and then suddenly they decide they want to sell on eBay, so they want to change their username, or they want to change their store name.
Yeah, their identity.
Yeah, and so there's a way to do both those things.
So somebody linked to this other guy on YouTube who does dumpster diving.
It was the Deal Diva.
Deal Diva, yes. And I was like obsessing over these videos. I think because it's really fun to see other people like treasure hunting. He's funny.
Yeah, I mean, he's, a guy that lives in LA.
I think it's like Orange County.
So, he's an urban guy, and what he does is he goes into apartment complexes and goes through their dumpsters.
Yeah.
And he makes videos of the things he finds.
And he sells stuff on Craigslist and eBay and everywhere like that.
Yeah, and we love these guys, these people, because they are all just guys, but they go through the trash, and And we aren't talking about like in the garbage where it's like gross food.
Although sometimes he does do that, yeah. But
people throw, especially in apartment buildings.
Yeah, they'll put stuff outside the dumpster because they want people to take it.
Or, it's the end of the month, someone's going to another apartment and they just like throw away all their hard goods.
Yeah. So he has 3 seasons of like 10 episodes each. So he has almost like 30 videos of these. So he has a playlist. It's all out of order, but it is fun to see him get stuff just because it's fun to find stuff for free that he's going to either sell or he does donate to people to.
So what kind of stuff is he finding?
He finds clothes. He finds household stuff. Like you're saying, like someone moves out and they dump like a perfectly clean mattress, which I'm sure he sells on Craigslist.
Or, pots and pans.
Or like, yeah, I mean, just like anything.
He's finding like it's computer stuff.
Yeah. Like he'll part out computer stuff and he'll scrap gold and he'll scrap copper out of the laptops.
I mean, this is something that as Ryan was telling me, I was like, oh, I would never want to do that. But I guess laptops have a small, tiny amount of gold
in it. But it's like 24 to 18 karat gold.
But it's little. But I can't
tiny
imagine
pieces.
The kind of work it would take to
basically
pull it out.
You have to be pulling, scrapping laptops for months to get, a few ounces of gold, an ounce of gold.
Right.
But, if that's what you like to do, that's cool.
Yeah.
But so it was cool to see that because I started researching it more. I was like, how do you scrap gold out of laptops? Well, it's not fun.
I think about the guys around here who get the scrap copper wire.
Yeah.
And what they do is they go in their backyard and throw it all into a pile and then burn
the insulation off.
Yeah, so it's like,
which is horrible. Because stripping it takes forever, so they're like, they just burn it.
But the good thing is a lot of it's recycling places, at least around here now, if you bring copper wire that's all dirty and burned, they give you a lower price than if it's clean. And that's good,
And at scrap places, as a lot of people probably know, they do take your ID now. And because if you're just always bringing copper pipes and stuff, they're like, you're stealing this shit,
Scrappers.
Yeah, so they're pretty vigilant about that now.
But
anyway, these videos are totally addictive.
Yeah, it's cool.
I watched all of them.
I mean, that's real, true treasure hunting.
Yeah.
When you're going through the garbage.
Yeah.
I love that. And
he's funny, too, because he, lives in a super nice apartment complex because he shows, hey, I'm hunting in my own place, And he's, wears a suit and tie sometimes when he's going out, which is funny because he's I don't want people to think I'm, stealing stuff or I want them to see me and be like, oh, he's just whatever getting stuff out of the trash.
I think it's all about your attitude. I mean, as long as you have a professional just I'm a good person attitude, it's hey, this stuff is being thrown out, this is public property now that it's in the trash, let's do it.
And he's also very courteous, like Martin from Garbage Finds. He's if someone's staring out at you and maybe whatever, he's I'll just leave because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want people to think I'm a nuisance, and I don't leave a mess. And you have to be courteous to people's apartment complexes and homes.
I would totally be that guy. If we lived in an apartment complex,
I'd be in the trash all the time.
I'd be in the trash all the time.
Totally.
I would be just bring your trash to my apartment and I'll take care of it.
Exactly.
And then just one thing I just wanted to ask people, if there's someone out there who's an accountant, who would like to do an interview with us about doing accounting for eBay, we get a lot of questions, especially it's tax time. It's April 5th today, so tax time is coming up. So if you haven't done your taxes, I hope that you're freaking out.
Better get on it.
I would love to do an interview with a tax person that also understands eBay, and we could have a conversation about how they would suggest a seller doing their taxes. Yeah. It's we have a way of doing it, but everyone's going to do it a little bit. It's differently based on their circumstances.
Right.
But, we always get these questions on the blog too, how do I do my taxes? And I always feel like an asshole because I'm always just it depends.
It depends.
And I always say get an accountant. If this is a serious business for you, you don't want to just be taking idle information from people on the internet. But maybe if we didn't interview it with a real accountant, we could pull out some good tips that people could at least have a framework of how to think about doing their taxes.
Right. I would love to talk to someone like that.
Yeah, because, I think a lot of people, they start out selling on eBay where it's like a yard sale. They're making
it's
$10,
a hobby.
$100, I don't think you even have to worry about it if you make under $600.
Yeah.
But once you start making some serious, it's money on eBay, it's income.
Yeah.
And so
you're obliged to report that.
Yeah, and it's best to do that. And we all love this great country, so it's good to.
It's great country.
It's money keeps it going.
Yes.
So what our coming week will be like?
Yes. So we have right now. We are about to go clean the house for new renters.
Yep. And those people will be staying there till Friday. And then we have a 3-hour changeover where then people are coming for a weekend. So those are two things. So that's great, though. I feel like that's where I'm a winner when that place is booked
all the
week.
time.
I hope. Yeah. I hope we can keep that up. But as far as eBay goes, so again, I admitted I felt eBay lazy this past week, and this week I don't want that to be.
We need to get back into it. There's a folder of artwork I need to list.
Yep.
I know it.
And there is, so we have actually been, I've been taking photographs of stuff inside our home because, it's been cold. It's wintertime. We have a nice wood stove here.
We like to be by the wood stove.
So we've both been working by the wood stove in our house. So our house has a lot of eBay stuff in it that needs to get photographed. And so my goal is to finish photographing everything in our home and move now we have an eBay office. Yeah. And to go back because now that the spring is here. Yeah. I want to start doing everything over there so our house just looks like
clean.
A normal house.
Yes, it's been taken over, certainly.
So, real quick, we took a break.
We took a long break.
So it's like 5.5 hours later.
Is it that long? Yeah, I guess so.
So we were doing the podcast, and we said we had to go clean the house. So we took a break, stopped. We went to this other house, and we cleaned it. Yeah. And we had to wait, and we met the people who stayed, and we checked them in. Yep. And now we're back. And it was a lot of work, Yep. I mean, cleaning
a whole house after I think there were like 5 or 6 people that stayed there.
And you were a little bit on edge there, weren't you?
I was stressed. You know why? Because
why are you so stressed out?
Because this is why. When everything goes perfectly, it's fine. But there were a couple things that happened that I was like, oh, this is...
It's like the handle to... It's one of the toilets broke, so we had to change it out.
But the good thing is...
Ryan changed it.
I changed it out because I've done it before. It's really easy. But there were 2 problems with it. One, so the handle was broken. It was a brand new handle, so I was pissed about that. And the second thing was because I had actually modified the chain to the toilet. I had cut the chain in half, so I had to reattach the chain, and I didn't have needle nose pliers. We did have them, but it was just like all these things at once where I was like freaked out. But I fixed it, and I had a second toilet handle. But I kept the old one.
But this is where just, it's running a rental, like a holiday edge rental, just like eBay. It's just like you're dealing with customers. You have certain tasks you have to do, and you figure it out, instead of freaking out about it, you just you fix it.
Yeah. After Jay yells at you, basically.
Because
you're like, stop freaking out. You're freaking out for no reason. I'm like, I need tools.
I think the other thing is, and I hope people don't get bored by this, but this is just what's on our mind. So, we had this place, and we're renting this place for about $200 a night, give or take. And so we've decided that so when we stay at these kind of places, at Airbnbs, we like it when there's sugar and some coffee and salt,
the basics,
and oil, because it's basically like a house or an apartment, and we always hate it when we stay places and there's nothing in there.
When we stayed in Colombia, they did not have any oil or salt and pepper. Right. And we were like, dope.
So we do all that stuff, and so we think if someone's going to spend $200 a night, so, for like a weekend they're going to end up spending, $400 to $600.
Right.
That it's okay. It's great for us to spend $5 or $10 on extra. And you know what?
Yeah.
I don't think it's even that much. Paper towels, napkins.
It's very minor, spread out like that.
A thing of coffee, some honey, some tea, just like, so I think that's a nice little thing to do. And kind of like when you treat your eBay customers too, if you put in a little extra time just to make something nice,
Right. Wrap it.
If you spend a little extra time packing it, if you spend a little bit with bubble wrap, that kind of thing.
You put a thank you note in. Yeah. It doesn't have to be handwritten. I print a thank you note, in bulk, a little like postcard thing.
I think that those things go a long way.
I agree. And I think people notice it. I notice it when I buy stuff from people, and you definitely notice it when someone shoves something in a padded envelope, not in a bag, not wrapped up. You're like, whoa.
I think that people care about the details, and I think that's true for any business. Anyone right now that's hearing this that does any kind of job, I'm sure they would all say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the details that it's matter. Whether you're a computer programmer or you work in the hotel industry, those things, it's matter. And you can always tell when someone's doing the least that they have to do.
Yes. And we've definitely stayed at places like that where you're like, oh, they are not thinking about like what it's like to stay here. Right. They're just like bare minimum, Right. So those are things that take time and effort.
This is why I've been feeling eBay lazy all week, is because I guess having this other business in our lives is we really haven't kind of synced it all up yet. We don't realize like, oh yeah, if we have to go clean the house, it might only take us 2 hours to clean, but it could be a 2 to 4 hour experience because of the driving. We had to wait an hour for them to come, that kind of stuff. So, it's now 5:30. I mean, we're not going to do any eBay today,
No.
So, So I just have to, I don't know, I guess I feel like I need to better incorporate both of these businesses into my schedule. Yeah.
I think we were talking about this when we were waiting for them. I was like, the mental energy that goes into this other business, because we're just starting. It's not like we're like, oh, we've been doing this for years. It's like, these are our first set of renters. So we're just like, all out. Everything has to be perfect. And today and tomorrow, we're going to be spent. I mean, hopefully we'll be doing eBay stuff tomorrow, but,
We are.
Jay's like, there's no doubt.
We are.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm ready.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to take some questions that people have either emailed in or they have called our special phone number, our red phone.
Yes, the red phone, which is just a Google Voice number. The phone number is 540-407-8486, and there's a 3-minute limit. It's just a voicemail. We don't pick up.
And we look for any kind of question about eBay, or if you have like a story about eBay, or if you want to comment on something that you've heard in previous episodes. We like when people kind of help push the conversation forward. So let's go ahead and play one.
Hi, Scavenger Life. This is Candy. I first want to say I appreciate everything that you do for us, and you offer some great tips, and you've helped me so much. My question is, from your eBay sales, put back into inventory, and what percentage do you put back into savings? I know it's probably like a really silly question, but I'm just curious to see what you guys do, and I thank you for everything that you do for us. Bye-bye.
Okay, that is not a silly question at all.
It's not a silly question, although I don't know if I really have a good answer for you. I mean, that's a kind of question where, like, if you had some kind of really, like, a real business, I don't know. I mean, it's not that we don't have a real business, but we don't have, like, a certain amount where we're like, we keep 10% and we put in 45%. It's more, we're pretty good with our money, and we don't spend more than we have to on our personal lives. We talked about this before. It was very important for us to start an eBay business where we did all of our expenses. Mm-hmm. So we know how much we have to pay every month for insurance, electricity, all that stuff. Internet, phones. I mean, so I actually know that, we have to put out think it's like $1,700 or something for that stuff.
For that stuff plus our mortgage.
Yeah, and then plus it's mortgage on top of that. So then as far as what we put into our business, I mean, we don't really limit ourselves. So some month we may only spend $100 because we just haven't really seen anything good. Yeah. But some month we may spend
$1,000.
$1,000 because we happen to it's run across some sales where we're like, we want all this stuff. And then we always just know that we're always trying to list as much as we're going to buy. I mean, we don't list everything we buy right away. But we always make sure we have a good balance, you know.
I think also what we do and what we try to do is when we have a chunk of money that we've saved up, we try to make sure we're investing that back into one of our businesses. So like this month, we had some extra money from two of the rentals that we had last month. So we got a bunch of landscaping done at the rental house. So we put the money right back into the business because it was something we'd been wanting to do for like a year. You could call that savings in a way, but it got spent pretty fast on a project we'd been waiting for. So the project was kind of like the savings. It was like, okay, when we get the money, we'll do it.
And I guess, you know, now that you put it like that, I mean, I think for us, like, every dime we make that we don't have to spend on just regular daily bills, we invest somehow back into our business. I mean, like, we've been pouring all this money into that rental house. Like, there's no idea for us, like, oh, we have an extra $500. Let's buy, you know, some new tennis rackets.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just like,
or I want to get some alloy hubcaps for my car, you know, like, we don't really spend money like that on luxury items.
Here's the answer, and this is the answer that you would give to me generally, is you're either reinvesting in your business, this is what our savings is, or you're paying down your debt.
Right.
So you have an extra $1,000, you pay $1,000 to your whoever, credit card or whoever. And we've done that. We have money that we owe on the credit card, and we'll take a chunk out of that, you know. You
will hear a noticeable, like, happiness in my voice when we ever get to the point in our lives where we have no debt. I think that's...
I'll have a spring in my step.
I feel like that's probably pretty rare for many Americans. Like, I wonder how many Americans actually are not in debt, you know?
I think it's so rare.
I feel like even people who are quote-unquote rich
have debt.
You know, have some kind of debt, whether it be their house or boats or something, you know?
Yep. Well, I feel like that's taught. In order for you to have any credit to get, like, I had no credit really when we were applying for mortgages because I never had a credit card. Because I avoided that stuff because I knew so many people that got screwed by it. And then it kind of screwed me because I'm like, I don't have any, like... I
mean, I guess, you know, on the other hand, I mean, we do live in a very great country where... I mean, regular people have access to quite a bit of credit. And if you're smart, like I think we have, you can use that credit to, you know, do all kinds of cool things. So, like,
if you can pay it back.
Like we use our credit card to buy a lot of, like, building supplies for that house. That's what we're paying off right now. I mean, it's almost like we had an instant, you know, $10,000 credit line. From the bank, but it was from the credit card company. So,
but the only issue with that is if you're not paying it off in big chunks, you know, the interest is so high. It's not like a construction loan at 5%. It's like whatever 25%. It's insane.
It was just nice to be not in debt, obviously, just because. Then you can just
save stuff. Then you're like, let's go to Paris for a week. Okay.
What?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Something like that.
Let's play another one.
Hi, yes, good morning. In your recent podcast, you talked about the nail polishes. I went to eBay, I saw them. Pretty color, do well on them. But my question to you is, I went to your health and beauty section. I see you have a lot of vintage fragrances, but fragrances turn, and they can have a rancid, weird smell to them after a certain amount of time. How do you know? What do? Do you smell them? Because I run across a lot, at garage sales and estate sales. And so I just want to know, do you check them all out before you do it? Because sometimes you got to spray it on your wrist or a part of your arm and let it stay there a while so you can really, smell the fragrance. If you could answer that question for me, I'd love to know, because I'd like to pick up some vintage fragrances and creams and stuff like that. Thank you very much. I love your podcast. Bye-bye.
First of all, I love getting calls from you.
Yes.
Because they're good questions, and I love the accent. So any perfume we sell, we open up. I mean, they aren't like brand new in the package where you can't undo them.
Yeah, it's unsealed.
It was off of a lady's, she passed away or got put into a home, and all of her stuff got put in boxes, and that's where we get these things from estate sales or auctions.
So I test the fragrances.
So we open it up, and you smell it. I think we would tell if it was a rancid. I mean, the other thing is, we've never had a complaint, so that's another good.
Yeah, I've never. And the other thing too is sometimes with those vintage ones, I mean, I've never, anything that smelled bad, I would never buy it. Or if I got it home and it smelled bad, I wouldn't sell it. Some people are just buying them for staging. Like, I have this one, it's like Chantilly, whatever, it's super old. It's totally from the 50s. And it might not smell like the original smell. It doesn't smell rancid, but I'm pretty sure someone would buy it just to put it on a shelf. Like, I don't think they're going to use it. But
do you think that it's turned, or you think it's not the same smell?
No, I mean, like, over time, alcohol changes. It's like wine. Like, over time, wine changes the taste. So I think I've never smelled anything that smelled rancid, though.
I need to read about that. Because, like, they have bottles of wine that are decades old. I mean,
I would love to know about that. Yeah.
I feel like some of that might have to be how it was stored. As long as it's stored inside of a home, and like it's not just thrown in a barn somewhere under heavy heat. But I mean, it's like anything we buy or that we buy and sell.
Yeah.
I mean, we check to make sure it's still in good shape.
Right.
And a perfume would be the same way.
But I mean, it's a good point. And the good thing is I've never had a complaint from anyone. So I'm hoping that my discretion is correct in smelling them. Okay, next call.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. It was fun listening to your last podcast about having fun as a scavenger and having fun scavenging together. I have a question for you. My husband, my lovely, lovely husband, who hates shopping, has decided to help me out with scavenging. And this is accompanying me and then asking, why would anyone ever want that? Why does anyone want that? And we always get into an argument about why someone would want something. And I say they just would because it's interesting. So I know that you two are not always as delightfully happy with each other as you are on the podcast. And I was wondering, have you guys come up with any strategies for dealing with the sort of aggravation of shopping with somebody else, scavenging with somebody else, and having disagreements? You've been doing it for so long, I'm sure you must have hit some bumps in the road and come up with ideas of how to smooth over those bumps and continue to work positively. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Okay. So my first thought is there are many, many times where I'll want something and Jay will be like, what? That's crazy. And vice versa. He'll want some crazy, like, big wooden trunk, and I'm like, oh, God, no. I don't want to do anything with that. And what we've come to, because we are both scavengers and we do this business together, it's not like one of us is just tagging along. I'm like, go for it. It's your business, too. You want to buy it? Right. You want to ship it? Or you're not going to ship it, but, you want to figure out what it is and research it. Go for it,
I think in her case, her husband's still kind of new to the whole scene.
Right.
So he's asking the questions of like, why am I buying old shoes?
Why am I bothering?
Who would ever buy old shoes? So we don't obviously have those kind of...
Right, because I know people buy weird
arguments.
stuff.
It's with each other. I mean, I would hope her husband would quickly learn when he's helping her buy stuff, and she sells it, and he's like,
oh, someone bought it.
we spent, $20 at Goodwill, and now we just made $100. Like, that's
right.
The question of why is a moot point at that point.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know why someone bought it. I mean, he must see you packing and shipping stuff, so he must know people buy this stuff that you're buying.
I mean, and then the other thing is it's for us, we really feed off the idea of why someone's going to buy this. Because
right.
It's almost like I love the challenge of finding the weirdest thing and finding the person that's going to buy it. I mean, we talked about this as recently, selling these like really weird, like outsider art and
weird dolls.
And the idea that's half the fun is having your eye like a verify.
Yep.
Like someone's
said that.
Someone's confirmed that what you saw was exactly what they wanted, and that's an exciting thing.
You're like that outsider art. The sketchbook, I wrote her a note being like, I'm so glad you totally understand how special this is, because she paid $250 for it. Clearly she thinks it's amazing, just like we did. So, like most people be like, it's an unnamed artist.
Right.
It's, crappy art that's ugly, or some people might think so. Who's going to pay $250? I'm like, there's someone out there.
But the other part to its question is just, about like, how do you deal with basically kind of, I guess, arguments and stuff.
Sure.
I mean, and again, is like you said, we are always looking to each other for confirmation.
Right.
And very often, I'll show you something that's like, yeah, that's cool.
That's awesome, yeah.
But if it gets down to the point where I really want something and you're not interested in it, it doesn't matter. I mean, we always say that to each other. I mean, it's like, go
I say,
for
it's
it.
up to you.
It's like, if one of us is passionate about it, that's all it takes.
Right.
It's just for one of us to get passionate. I do sometimes show it you stuff where I'm like,
I don't know.
I could give or take, I could leave this. Like,
we do
I don't
that
really
all
care.
the time.
But I'll show it to you hoping that you're excited about it. And sometimes you'll become more excited than I am. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of for us, because there's two of us in the business, I mean, we very much are like, I don't want to say looking for approval, but just like, it's like when you show someone something and you're like, is this really ugly or like amazingly cool? I can't. And then the person's like, oh, it's horrible. And you're like, yeah, you're right.
Because the reason why that's important, because you're going to be bringing this into, or we're going to bring this into our home. So we're going to
live with this thing.
It's with this item. It's going to sit there until we list it. We're going to photograph it and pack it. I mean, so if one of us isn't excited about it,
then neither of us are excited about it, and we want it gone. So that's a bad feeling.
But I do hope that her husband becomes more into it, because I think it's nothing more exciting when partners work together, because there's nothing more. I mean, it's so much better than any other kind of like hobby I can think of. Like scavenging is such a fun hobby because you can make its money while you're doing the hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
To me,
it does feel like that.
When people talk about their hobbies, bike riding or crocheting or whatever, it's like, no, well, we look for junk, that's our hobby.
It's fun. Yeah. Yep. But I mean, the other thing too is, I mean, your husband, hopefully, if he is tagging along for a reason, I would think that he's going to find some stuff that you never would have thought of, that he's like, this is cool. I never thought of this. And I bet there's like a market for it. Let's buy a couple of them and see if there is a market. You know?
I mean, kind of like, I think if you guys are shopping at like Goodwill or like a thrift store, that might not be his angle. Right. Because that's a lot of times is more clothes and like housewares.
Like an auction might
maybe he needs to go to an auction or a flea market where he can get his hands on it. Maybe being really sexist here, but tools, like, or just whatever. If he's into horses, like he can find the things that excite him,
right?
And he knows why people buy this stuff because
he buys it.
He would buy
exactly. So we don't have to be sexist about it. Men like tools, but there are lots of women like me who like tools.
That's right. Ryan is the handyman of our house.
I'm the handy.
I'm totally cool with that.
Handy woman.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
Hi Jay, hi Ryan. It's Tom here, the English Picker on YouTube. Just wanted to give you a quick call. I'm currently in France on a buying trip, looking for different bits and pieces I can put on eBay. And this is more of a comment, really. I just wanted to thank you guys for the idea of changing your handling time rather than putting on holiday settings on your eBay. I've experimented this time in doing that. I haven't put my eBay shop on holiday mode. I've simply changed the handling time to 15 days and then message the person once they buy something. And it seems to work quite well. Before, I'd have sort of 2 or 3, 4 people going mad and saying, oh, I didn't realise, I didn't see it. And this time I've only had 1. So it's actually worked out quite well. The only downside on that is I'm currently in rural France and the internet is somewhat hit and miss. So that's been slightly difficult to keep on track of that. So I just also wondered if you had any tips or tricks about using the internet abroad and your experience doing that. So thanks for all that you do. I really enjoyed the podcast and I hope to speak to you all soon. Bye now.
It's always good to hear from Tom.
I love the accent, and I love that he calls it holiday mode.
And it was cool. We
I always want to call it holiday mode now.
She actually met Tom and his girlfriend
in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, and we actually went to a big
the big flea market with them.
The I Holland.
I Holland, the biggest flea market in the Netherlands.
Yep.
Netherlands is pretty small,
so I think it's cool because I would do this too. Man, if I lived in Europe, I would totally use scavenging as an excuse to go to different countries.
Well, what's so great,
awesome.
I forget that France and England are connected through the tunnel.
Yeah.
So you can just hop on a train and go to France. I'm like, oh, you're so smart.
It's probably even cheaper to take a flight.
Or to fly, yes. Yeah. But so that's awesome.
So, we're going to Barcelona in September. And
we are very fancy. I love how you just said that so normal, but it's true.
Because it is normal.
Yes, we are.
Because we've gotten our lives to make it be normal.
It's for work, of course.
And so we'll be doing some scavenging too. And that's what's work. It's for us, it's changed our handling time.
Yes.
It's like Tom says, because then, once they buy, I mean, it's set in stone that you're going to be 2 weeks, 6 weeks.
Right.
I mean, it's whatever the handling time is, that's when they're going to get it. And they can't, get you in trouble because
eBay sees the handling time.
Now, like he says, it is good. We always do the same thing too. We email people right away just so they're clear. In case you didn't see it, it's going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks before I ship. And most people are good with that. So Tom's asking, well, what happens when your internet's bad? We've never really been anywhere where internet's been
that bad.
At least for, it might be bad for part of the day, but then we always get back to a place where the internet's good, so it's not a problem. But that's why changing your handling time's okay. You don't have to email them. That's more of just a courtesy because we're all people who are good at selling on eBay. There's no need to email them because it tells them when they're going to get it.
Now, I think also with the spotty internet, don't feel like you have to email them right away. But since you are traveling and maybe you'll hit up a Wi-Fi hotspot or whatever, just do all your messages then. Don't freak out about it, but just do it when you can.
Tom's story is like me, is like where I need to always be on the internet.
Absolutely,
it's very It's so interesting. I just catch myself it's my phone in my hand every 5 minutes, just checking to see if something's happened.
I mean,
it's very, and you know what? I love it.
I don't care. I mean, people are like, we're very much technology nerds. So when people are like, the internet's making us more disconnected and we're addicted to our phones, I'm like, yep. I'm totally addicted to my phone, and I do not care.
People talk about those vacations where they don't have internet and they take your phone away.
That sounds horrible to me. That sounds like hell to me. I'm like, what do you mean? I need to check Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
But that's just us.
Yep.
Okay,
so I have a question that someone emailed to us. It's Mark. He's actually asking about our rental house.
Aha.
So he asks what we're going to do with this house when it's cold. So during the winter time, because doing the heat on a house is expensive. I mean, Like one month, I think it was February, our heating bill was like $300.
Yeah, and
in
it
that
was,
house.
and we're very stingy about the heat.
What he was saying, and it's smart, that we could, close the house down. We could drain the water out of all the pipes and just turn the heat off. So it's just be a vacant, empty house.
Right.
And we could totally, do that. We actually have a plumber that we can call to help us.
Yep. He said
make
he would
sure
help
we
us.
blow the pipes out. I think we can rent this place up and through December. So I feel like it's only January and February that would be our dead months.
Right.
So Mark also suggests, well, what if we rented it to someone full time for those 2 months? So it'd be like a kind of a
February.
It'd be kind of like a long-term / short-term,
like
kind
a
of rental.
retreat, like someone's coming down. Yeah, I think that's a very good idea.
And we talked about this. It's before. Is like, I mean, it'd be perfect for someone who wanted to write a book or I don't know.
Yep.
Needs to be away somewhere for 2 months, somewhere
where
quiet.
nothing's going on.
Yeah. And then we would obviously, I wouldn't charge $200 a night, but we'd maybe cut them a deal.
Yeah.
To stay there, just so we could obviously pay for our heat and make it's money too.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll have to.
No, I think my mom always suggested that too. She's like, in the winter, you should like advertise this for writers because it's such a perfect place for a writer.
But it'd be interesting to hear if other people have done something like that, because I don't know how we would find, because it wouldn't be anyone local here.
Yeah.
We would have to find someone in New York or wherever.
DC or wherever.
So it'd be interesting to try and find if maybe there are like websites for writers. Who,
I think that's probably true.
Or like a scientist is trying to cure cancer and needs to come and like
just hang out and do their research. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
But that's a good
I think it's a very good question, and I think it's a very good, set of solutions that we could possibly do. Because I would love to rent it out. I would love someone to be enjoying the winter there.
Okay, so we have this next question from Zach. Here you go.
Hello, wise eBay sages. This is Zach, and I have a scavengorical question for you. Yeah, I just coined that term. Since I'm calling in, I'm an eBay seller. I go to lots of estate sales and garage sales. I also now have a bit of a problem paying retail prices for anything I could find used. I'm what some would call frugal and others might call cheap. I've started buying a lot of vintage items as gifts lately. So like when I see something I think a friend of mine could use or want, I buy it and I'll save it for that person's birthday or for Christmas. Like I bought my friend an old Windows 95 laptop so he could enjoy the vintage games he likes to play. And for children's birthdays, I try to find nice, good condition, interesting older toys at thrift stores or garage sales. I mean, there are so many toys out there. It's crazy. Why would you buy new ones when there's 10 million old ones? But that's another topic. I bought like my niece for her second birthday. I bought her a vintage cast iron coin piggy bank. It had like a little spring action. It was really cool. But my mom has tried to kind of diplomatically tell me that it kind of embarrasses her that I buy these used gifts. And why can't I just go buy people something new, a gift card or something from Walmart, which I don't get. I find that boring. I don't know that there's no thought there, but I haven't had anyone else openly object to me giving them used gifts. And, I try to get them nicer things, not just crap. Some have been excited about them, like my friend who I got the old laptop. He was super excited. The other people might just be sparing my feelings. I'm not sure. They might just think I'm a cheap asshole. I'm asking your opinion. Is it bad to give used gifts? Is this in bad taste? Thanks.
Okay, so this is a great question that Zach has. And I really feel like...
Yep.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, for people like us, like getting a used gift, I don't know.
It's hard for us to answer that question, I
mean, I feel like a lot of things that people buy on eBay become its gifts. And I guess there's a difference between like... you're buying something vintage or it's unique, right? It's kind of like an antique, People don't think of those as like, you're just giving me some trash used. Yeah. But I guess if you're buying like a new item that's used, then that's when people start feeling like you're being cheap.
I do not have the right perspective. I gave my brother and his wife for their wedding a vintage like dance like gorgeous, amazing
it's
roasting pot.
Right.
Yeah, mid-century. It's Coben style. You guys know what it is.
Because his wife.
Oh, she's a chef.
A chef,
right?
So, and then, but it is also nice if you went online on eBay and found the.
Yes, yeah. So what I did to match it was I found the vintage advertising for that pot from like the '60s from a magazine, and I bought that and framed it and gave it together. Like, this is a cool vintage thing, but that's like vintage mid-century.
Okay,
so
I do have the answer for. So the answer is simply you have to own it.
Yep.
If that's who you are, and if you're buying these gifts is genuine.
Yep.
And with love.
Yep.
And if someone has a problem, it's with that. That's not your problem.
Nope.
That's their problem.
Yep.
It's like it's a whole thing. Like what someone else thinks of you is none of your business.
It doesn't matter.
And it's that same kind of thing. You just like.
I mean,
you're doing something full of love, and
right.
if someone wants you to think something negative about that, then that's on them.
I mean, you could just not give anyone any presents. And you know what I mean? Like, to me, you're being thoughtful and you're thinking of these people and you're searching in a scavenger way to like be giving gifts, and that's cool.
I mean, I'll tell you something that's really controversial, and that is when people give us gifts and then we turn around and
we sell them. And what's even worse is when those people look at your eBay store and see that you're selling stuff that they gave you.
Hi, Ryan's mom.
My mom is always like, didn't I give those to you? Oh, sorry, Mom. Yes, you did.
But Ryan's family knows that when they give us gifts that, we may use it for a while and end up selling it. I mean, that no one should get mad. And actually now...
That's why they should just give me money.
When we go up and visit It's Your Family very often, they'll give us stuff that they know we're going to sell. Like, here's an extra box of lighting stuff that I don't want.
Yes.
And
someone gave me brand new photograph lighting kit, and I was like,
because they knew we were going to sell it.
She just was like, here, I'm not going to use this.
So it's almost like instead of them taking to
the thrift store,
thrift store, they give it to us. And
and I'm like, that's a great gift because it is like they're giving me money.
And your family loves to hear our stories. Like when we go, they always talk about what do we buy and sell, and what do we find.
And most of the time when we're visiting them, we're scavenging, so we have like boxes of stuff that we're shipping home, boxes of stuff in our car. I mean, last time we were there, I was like going to FedEx like 3 times a day. My mom's like, what?
Well, I think about when we saw it's it's father and his wife and your aunt and uncle.
Down in Florida.
At the beach.
Oh my God, our car.
And they just thought that we were just such quirky, weird people. But not in a bad way, but just because, being a scavenger... I think you're a very interesting person, because you live this weird life, and they laugh about it and kind of make fun of us a little bit. But I mean, ultimately, we're the ones who are laughing because we have this like kind of freewheeling, fancy-free lifestyle.
Because I bought like 5 hockey sticks at an auction in Florida and then sold them for $100. Like, whatever.
So I guess that's the answer. We just own it. So.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is what we do. Whatever. I don't care what anybody thinks, but I hear you. Okay, last call.
Hi, Ryan and Jay. This is Amy from Knoxville, Tennessee. My question is about whether you guys use Optiva or another kind of listing service for eBay. I noticed that your listings look a little bit different and you have a theme with it. I was just wanting to see if that was worth some money or not. Thank you so much for doing your podcast. I really enjoy them. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
So we get this question every now and again. I mean, we just list right off of eBay.
Yeah, the reason why my listings look different is I did build a template from scratch because I am a website HTML nerd, so I know how to do that stuff. And I built that template like in 2008, so it was a while ago. So we don't use we are the cheapest people. We're like, we're not paying extra for any services.
And we know plenty, we know a couple that sell on eBay, and I'm always checking their store out because they sell great stuff. They sell a lot of stuff. They don't have any templates.
They barely say anything in the description.
They do a good job taking photos, and then in the description, they say just things like, "Here's a cool lamp, have fun," and that's
See ya.
But they sell it because they do good titles.
Yes,
they do really good.
They know what it
keywords,
is,
and just the item is quality, and so. It makes me feel sometimes like, why
we're overdoing it.
Like, why do we even need to embed photos in our template?
We probably don't. But you know what? I like doing that.
Right. And so if you want the look, you do it for it yourself. And you can just get templates online. And you don't have to go through Activa.
eBay has free templates, too, if you want just like a simple
But, I mean, there's lots
thing.
of, like, companies online, like these websites where they'll sell you a template, too. I mean... You know, as far as, like, I never understand why people want to sign up for those, like, as listing companies.
I don't know
what they do.
What's the advantage?
Yeah, I mean, I guess people are just asking because, I guess if you want, like, a serious business, then don't you need, like, a serious...
Like, you have to pay for services.
Services, yeah. I don't know.
The only thing I'm paying for is PayPal and eBay fees, basically. Right. That's my overhead.
Yeah, I guess one thing is, can't you list like offline? You know, so if you don't have the internet, you can list and then you can sync it up later. But
or if you have employees and you don't want them like signing into your account, something like that. But we don't. Us personally, I just list right off eBay. I go to ebay.com, sign in, list.
Right. Yeah.
And people are like, oh, use Turbo Lister. Well, I work on a Macintosh, and they don't have a Turbo Lister program for a Macintosh, which is insane.
Yeah, it's so strange that they don't have it.
So that's the answer for us.
Hope that helps. All right, so thanks again for being with us this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for all the links that we talked about today, and you can join our conversation there. Once we post this, there's always a good hot and heavy, back and forth about
a lot of comments,
which is good. And you can always leave us a question or comment on something that you've heard by calling
540-407-8486.
And I've also been starting to do like a throwback episode where
Throwback Sunday.
Where I'll just link to in this post an older episode just to help maybe it's new people kind of dig into our archives.
I like that idea.
We don't really have a good way to like dig in deep, so I'll kind of bring up something that's pertinent to what we talked about.
Yes.
And Wednesday, as Ryan always posts, what sold its video, where you can actually see some of the stuff we sell.
And I'm making sure that I try to videotape everything that has different prices. So the expensive stuff and the cheap stuff. Right. So you see the variety of stuff in our store, not just the cool, crazy $500 items.
We also want to thank everyone that sends in donations. Again, it's totally not a necessary thing, but it's very much
we appreciate it.
And it helps us, we've been making enough to pay our internet and phone bills. So
it's really
always
nice.
Cool.
So thank you.
And then if you want to rent our vacation farmhouse, we'll also have a link to that on this post.
Yes.
And if you come and if you cook, we'll even eat dinner with you.
I think that is so funny. If you cook, we'll have dinner with you. We provide the house.
Or you know what? You may not want to even do that, so you don't have to eat with us.
You can just rent the farmhouse.
But if you want to come and talk about scavenging, come and rent our farmhouse.
Yeah.
It'd be great to meet people in person.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, this podcast is ending.
Do we have to say it every time?
In 3, 2, 1. Bye.